So first, thank you very much for making the time to be here. This will take somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. My name's Andrew Knightlick. About 20 years ago, I was a management consultant. And one of my clients, I worked for a very successful management consulting firm, and we would always start with this big benchmarking study. It would turn into a good 200-page PowerPoint report. And a client said to me, Andrew, this is right. I knew the answer. And I couldn't help it. I said, all of our clients say that, and they've spent $175,000 on this. And I'm just curious, why, if you already knew the answer. And he said, this isn't the part I care about. I don't need your big team of analysts. What I really value are the one-on-one conversations with you. I knew the answer, but I don't know how to get there. And there are a lot of people gunning for my job. This is a highly political organization. I need someone I can speak to who is an advocate for me and who can be a sounding board. And if I say something stupid, they can, it's not going to hurt my career. And I want someone who can help me through these tough decisions and how to do them with elegance and effectiveness. And it was right there I realized, I wasn't so thrilled being a management consultant. I said, I should just do this as a model. Why go through all the smoke and mirrors and window dressing of having a big team of analysts and traveling all over the place when what it's, this is not the first client that told me they really appreciate these coaching conversations. So why wouldn't I just isolate the highest impact part of what I do and become an executive coach? And that's essentially what I did. Struggled for 6 months, and I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go, but ultimately built a successful practice. At some point, people started coming to me to learn how to coach. We got accredited with the International Coaching Federation. I've written some books on coaching, and here we are today. What I'm going to do today is show you one tiny piece of our program. It's a very powerful tool called the Leadership Dashboard. It's an incredibly versatile tool. On one page, it essentially challenges your clients to write down the most important things about either their organization, their area of responsibility, their career. You could do this for almost any domain. Sometimes I've done it with clients both for their career and their organization and looked at the overlaps and the conflicts and talked about it that way. So in essence, what you have here is something that could be an executive level development plan, a mini strategic plan perhaps, for those clients, and there are many of them now who are overwhelmed with too many things going on. They're stressed. Priorities management is a big deal. This is a phenomenal tool because on one page, they can look at this and say, here's what really matters to me. It's been proven now for well over a decade in 32 countries. I mean, just for example, one coach has used this with a national nonprofit. He worked with leaders, regional leaders there, and each regional leader wanted their team to fill out this leadership dashboard so it could roll up and make sure everybody was aligned. So it's also very valuable as an alignment tool. I'm going to show you how to use it today. Briefly, let me just change the screen here. If you want to go to the document that I just had that we'll be using today, you can go to centerforexecutivecoaching.com articles, okay? And if you scroll down the page, you'll see this, Masterclass, the Leadership Dashboard, a proven tool that brings clarity and focus and reduces overwhelm. If you were to click that link, you'd see the document we'll be using today. All right. And before we jump in, let me just give you some context of where this fits into our program, right? The reason I do these master classes is to give you a sense of our content. Primarily, my dream is that each of you is a prospective member of the Center for Executive Coaching. You want to get certified with us, but I also understand that some of you are here just because you know we have good content and you'd like some of that content, and that's fine too. But this is just a small part of what we teach, and so I want to show you where it fits in, if you'll give me just 2 minutes to do that. When you join our program, we start with, this is our member area, by the way. This is what you'll see pretty much when you join the program. And we start with a foundational coaching conversation called Active Inquiry. We show you how to do this conversation with executives, leaders, up-and-coming talent, essentially in an organizational or professional setting, very different from how life coaches might do it. Here, we're baking in value. We're already showing a return on investment. We're trying to get results. So we show you how to do this fundamental coaching conversation. We then show you the process of coaching. How do you set up an engagement? What's an overall engagement look like? How do you communicate the process of coaching so that clients care, and so it's not a boring lecture about what coaching is? And then we get into assessment tools, especially third-party assessment tools. How do you use validated data to accelerate the process of coaching and help leaders figure out quickly, who are they and how can they be even better? Okay, so we start there, and then there's just a ton of coaching solutions that you see on the left, right? What sets us apart is we give you methodologies and solutions for just about any issue a client's going to have. And within that, the leader's dashboard is sort of a hybrid assessment / coaching solution. Okay, it's something we can use as an executive level development plan to help focus the leader. And we could take it out every month or two and say, how are you doing on your dashboard? Okay, that's at least one way to use it. But you'll see from there, we could go into a number of directions with the client, right? Maybe they have a behavior, a new habit that will help them be a better leader. Maybe they need to shift perceptions. Maybe they have an opportunity to have more impact in their communications or how they influence people one-on-one, especially those high stakes conversations, right? We might look at time and priority management, which is a massive topic these days, overwhelm. Maybe it's leadership and executive presence. And so with any of these, like for instance, here you see the leader's dashboard. When you join our program, you'll get, I've just shared with you a 2-page document, but there's actually a 60-page document that shows you exactly how to use this tool in different ways. I'm going to talk you through it today. We clearly don't have time to go through 60 pages of exposition. I'll show you, briefly what the table of contents look like and what we'll cover today. And then here, there's 2 hours of webinars already up. And with each of these, there's anywhere from 1 to 5 hours of content for each topic. So you have a ready-made library to cover and help you coach a client through just about any situation they have, because with our members, we want you to keep clients for a long time. Okay, so that's the context. I want you to know, if you were in the program, you would already have a sense of what is a coaching conversation, how does it work, how do you get results efficiently and effectively to help clients have their own insights, what's the coaching process, how do you assess the client, and then the leader's dashboard fits in and leads into, with the other assessments, some really powerful coaching and conversations. Okay, so with that, let's go to the document. And again, I shared with you just a minute ago where this is. What I'd like to do is walk you through this document at a high level. I'd like you, let's fill it in together. I'm going to coach you as a group on your leadership dashboard so you can see what this thing is and how it works. And then I'll take questions, and I'll take questions throughout, okay? Meanwhile, if you have questions about, our program, how long it takes, the requirements, I'd strongly ask you to go to our website, take a look, reach out to me anytime. I'm very accessible. We can set up time and we can talk, okay? Once again, I'll put in the link to the document and let's get started, okay? So this leadership dashboard on one page looks at what I would say are probably the critical things a client needs to look at, right? In my practice right now, I'm working with the number 2 person of a billion-dollar corporation. He's going to take over the company from his father. And this has been essential to him in getting focused. Just as one example, I'm also working with the interim president of a unit of a publicly traded company. He's had to pull together a vision, look at how to execute it, assess the team. And again, this is the document he uses to make sure every morning he goes into work, he's focused on what matters most, okay? And if you'll see the categories, it's vision. What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your values? What's your edge? We'll look at that for you as a professional or a coach. What sets you apart from others? What are no more than top 3 initiatives, your top 3 initiatives that will get you to the goals you have for yourself or your area of responsibility and your vision? What are your top 3 ways to measure performance? Who are your key relationships? And what are top development opportunities? So you can see how this dovetails with a development plan, strategy, and so much more, leadership. And, essentially, I can tell right away from this where a client might need some work. Okay, so let me tell you the process of how I roll this out with a client. And then let's jump into each category and let's see some of the conversations that come up, okay? So what I'll do with a client, and first of all, let me just show you this. When you do join the program, you'll see here, I think this is 90-page document or something. We have over 1,000 pages of documents walking you through our tools, one by one, just in time. That's our curriculum. And so it gives you an executive summary, when to use the tool, examples from real clients that tell you you have an opportunity to use it. There's a process and coaching plan, other tools or solutions to consider. We even include language that you might put in a proposal for each of these. There's practical tips. Then we show you how to use the methodology or the toolkit. And in this case, you might use this with a client who's looking to lead their organization, and or a client that's looking to take their career to the next level. So there's a couple of ways you might use this, and then it goes into more depth about how to complete this or how to help a client complete it. So this gets you. I guess what I'm trying to convey is there's a ton of content in the program when you join. Okay. So the way I do this with a client is when we start an engagement, we're going to do some assessment work, right? I personally like to do one validated third-party assessment. I happen to be partial to the Profile XT, but you've heard of the leading assessment tools out there, right? Hogan, Harris, DISC, Berkman, Predictive Index, and so on. I'll do one third-party validated assessment. I'll typically do some sort of 360 that's online, right? Again, one that I use is a Checkpoint 360 that looks at 70 leadership behaviors. I also look at an emotional intelligence one. I happen to use Genos. And I might do a 360 verbal where I interview 8 to 12 people, I guess, that know the client well in smaller organizations, obviously fewer. And I ask some probing questions to understand my client's impact, what they do well, what they can do better. And then I'll have them fill out this leader's dashboard. So when we get things started in a coaching engagement, I'll give them this. And the instructions are right here. Just look, to the best of your ability, complete this. On one page, I'd like to know, what's your vision for, let's say we're doing this for their organization or area of responsibility. What's your vision? Where do you want to take this organization? What's your mission for the organization? What's its purpose? And again, I'll take you through some detailed questions to ask here. What values do you want to make sure are embedded in this organization that you'll live? What's the edge? What does this organization do better than anybody else? What sets it apart? What are the top 3 initiatives you need to focus on as the leader of this organization to assure success? How will you measure these? No more than 3 performance metrics. Who are your key relationships, up, down, across, and outside? And what do you already know might be development opportunities we can work on? And then what's going to happen is when we meet the next time to review some of the assessments, which, again, could take a couple of meetings, one of the meetings will be dedicated to looking at this. And we say, how'd it go? What do you want coaching on? What was easy? What was hard? We review it the way I'm going to show you how to do it today. And then at the next meeting, maybe they'll finalize it. And, once every month or 2, we can take it out and say, let's update it. Let's look at what's going on. In some ways, this is all you need to coach clients. You need to know how to go deeper for specific issues that the client will have. But what I found is that in the coaching market, there's a lot of, one-pagers that can make a tremendous difference. This, for me, has been one of them. Okay. So let me take you through how to do this. And the way I'd like to do this, if it's okay with you, is I'd love you to do this with me. I'm essentially going to ask you the questions. If you're already a coach or thinking of getting into coaching, I'd be delighted if you could think about this for you as a coach. What's your vision, for instance, for your coaching practice? If you're not a coach and you'd like to focus on something else, you're a leader of an organization, by all means, answer the questions that way. Okay, and ask questions anytime. We're just using the chat. We're not using Q&A. So let's start with vision, right? What's your vision? If you were going to become a coach, and I hope all of you are thinking about becoming coaches, pick some time limit. I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. What for you do you want your coaching practice to look like? It's really as simple as that. What do you want your coaching practice to look like? And what I'll have my clients do is tell the story backwards as if it already happened. Okay, and there's about 3 different ways I might work with a client to have their vision. While I tell you these 3 ways, I'd be delighted if some of you could share your vision. For instance, when I first went into coaching, my vision 20 years ago is exactly what you see now. I don't work very many hours a day. I have some absolutely phenomenal clients. I work from a home office. I have all the time in the world. I mean, today, for instance, I'm driving my daughter to basketball practice. I get to see all their recitals. I mean, I've created, you know, within 6 months, I knew I could do it. Within a year, I was making more money than I was as a management consultant in a very stressful firm with tons of travel in a non-sustainable career, essentially. That was it. I had as an idea to write a couple of books. I did that, including 3 guerrilla marketing books. I have clients all over the world. I come in and help them with some of their great issues. So type this in. In fact, let me enable chat so everyone can see. You could type to all panelists and attendees if you'd like, so that others can share and you could feel like you declare it. So certainly one way to do it is to say, here's what happened, right? Talk about it as if it already happened, right? 10 years ago, I started my coaching practice and here's where I am today, right? And then you can live. So one is to have them talk about it that way. You know, I have a client who runs a financial services organization. You know, his vision was a lot about, we're going to continue to dominate the space. We're going to grow. We grew organically to reach $1 billion from $250 million. We have these services, and we're known and famous for the following, right? So what do you want to be famous for? What will you have achieved? Who are you working with? Do you have employees? Don't you? Are you global? Do you have programs? These are the types of things when you join the Center for Executive Coaching, you'll work one-on-one with me and with others to make that actually happen. Unlike other programs, it's not just a training. You pretty much have a 24/7 help desk to help you through these. So that's one way. Two, a second way to do vision is to have the client go on the internet and draw some pictures of what they see for their future. And that's really cool to do. And with the way the internet works, you can just go on Google Images and they can put together a PowerPoint collage. And some clients respond beautifully to that. I did this myself, and I had like 4 pictures, 4 primary pictures. One was of somebody playing tennis, one was of my family, one was of a jet, and one was of, you know, some books and things like that. I think there was another one of me speaking, and that's it. So it helped me visualize, and for a while it was right up there. I probably need to update that. The third is a metaphor. So I'll ask clients, close your eyes. In fact, why don't all of you do this? Close your eyes for a minute and imagine you've achieved your ideal vision for your practice, for your coaching practice. What's the first image that comes to mind, like a metaphor? It could be something from nature. Could be, I've seen people do things from architecture. It could be a scene. It could be from astronomy. What do you see as a metaphor? For me, I was pretty uncreative when I did this. I just had a giant oak tree, right? Type in, you know, what do you see? Do the work here. What would you see as a metaphor that represents your coaching when it's as successful as it can be? Nice. I see guardian, rising sun. That's wonderful. You could type to all panelists and attendees, sun rising. So we have 2 of those. Oh, that's interesting. Sun and water. So you get the idea. The other thing I'll ask the client is, so what about now? What does the metaphor look like now? And so for me, it was just a tiny little sapling. I'm not particularly creative with the right brain. So it was from a sapling to a giant oak tree. And that was simple. And then, you know, I could coach myself and say, well, how am I going to get there? Where am I in the picture now? Where will I be later? And you see some wonderful, wonderful comments in the chat. See a river with a great view, a lake with people talking. You also see people writing it with exposition. So there's 3 ways to do vision with a client, okay? And again, I don't force them through it. They're going to come to me with their vision, and I'm going to say, what do you want coaching on? Right? If they're clear on it, I'm not going to torture them. Oh, I like this. Hot air balloons, a shooting star. Beautiful. Next up is mission. So first, let me say that, you know, in the leadership world, sometimes vision and mission get reversed. Everyone has their own definitions. I've worked with organizations to create their mission and have a really simple process that can get it done in 30 minutes. And I asked them 3 questions. I'm going to ask you 2. And this, when I did this myself, it pretty much changed my life. This is what had me say, I can't be a consultant anymore. I need to immediately talk to the leaders in my firm and change my role so that I can be at home. I can start transitioning into what I want to do while still earning an income. Mission is your why. It's your purpose. And the way I've come to mission and the way I coach clients on it is it's what are the things you do really well that you like to do, right? What are essentially your talents and your strengths? And what difference do you want to make to the world of people with those talents and strengths, right? So for instance, there's a company that makes toilets. You would think that's boring, it's mundane, but they know what they're good at. They're good at design, they're good at engineering, they're good at manufacturing. And the way they see the world being better is they want a safe, hygienic planet. So their mission is to use their talents in engineering and design to create a safe, hygienic planet. That's pretty cool, right? You would think this boring company, but people are inspired by that mission. So do me a favor, take out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or type on the computer. I want you to write down 3 things you do well that you enjoy doing, right? Like when I started, it was speaking, training, and writing. For some of you, it's convening. It could be synthesizing. It could be telling stories. It could be analyzing. It could be creating. I don't know. Things that you like to do and you're good at. You don't have to write them in the chat, but write them down. I'm going to show you how to put them together. So it should be it would be nice if they were gerunds. Gerunds end in ing, like one of you has listening, one has explaining, analyzing. So you'd add connecting, bringing people together, using strategy. Good. Coaching, teaching, speaking, exploring, revealing, getting people to take action of their own volition. Beautiful. All good. The second part I want is if you could create a world where everybody had something, experienced something, some end state, right? That represents your ideal version of the planet. And by planet, I mean of the human population. What would people be, do, feel, have? For instance, right? Nike is brilliant at this, right? Their mission is to have all people experience the thrill of competition. Disney, brilliant at this. Their mission, everybody creates great memories, right? Very simple. What's the thing for you? I've seen things, create abundance. Have people feel fulfilled and satisfied in their jobs. Right, happy, safe, and enjoying life. Happiness, okay. Happiness is okay. Release their potential, live an extraordinary life. Okay, good. Oh, I like maturity, mission, multiplication, secure in self. So put it together for me. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down, I will use my, right? I will use my, and then list your 3 talents. It could be 1 talent, 2 talents, 3 talents, but I will use my speaking, writing, and training abilities. Right? So write that down. And then say, in order to create a world where all people, and then fill in the rest. Right? Where all people experience abundance, where all people feel free, where all people have great memories, whatever it is. That's it. I've done this with organizations. They said that we can't believe it. We spent $500,000 with a consulting firm with a 3-day retreat, and all we needed to do was this exercise. There's a little bit more to it, but this is the abridged form, and it works beautifully. Did anyone come up with some sort of insight? I mean, when I did this, I said, I can no longer be in a firm where I'm not living my mission. Right? Yeah, Mark has a really good one. I'll use my exploring, revealing, and acting abilities in order to create a world where people realize their potential. Right? One of you says, where all people experience great satisfaction and enjoyment at work. That's great. I'd love to hear what your talents are to help people get there. So that's basically for me a mission. I've had clients who say, no, this is really vision. The other thing is mission. It doesn't matter to me. I just want them to get grounded in what matters most. Okay. And I'm not going to beat them with, beat the dead horse here. If they already have a vision and mission, I might say to them instead, how are you living these and how are you not? Where do you want coaching when we work together to make sure you're really living your mission, you're living your vision? Where are there conflicts, right? I'm not going to, great coaching is not about forcing the client to complete an exercise that is bureaucratic to them. It's about going wherever they are and where they want to go. Similarly with values. I'll have a client try to come down, get down to the 3 to 5 most important values they have. One exercise, for instance, is I'll give them a list of 50 values. They're already there. And I'll say, just circle 20 that matter most to you. Now cross out 10 of those and cross out 5 more to get to your 5 non-negotiable values. There's an assessment. That's a values indicator. That can help too. But really with clients on this, I want to say, so where are you living these values and where aren't you? And similarly, if they're leading an organization, let's say you have a superstar performer, like a great salesperson or a top surgeon in your healthcare facility, and they're not following one of these values. What do you do? Right? Because that's really where the rubber meets the road on values is, do they just say they have them or do they really live their values? And so this becomes a very powerful potential conversation. What are your values? What are your real values? I mean, if you were to ask 5 people who know you well what they think your values are, what would they say? Mardell asks, do I have a separate conversation on values? It's interesting you asked that. I have a client now, and for whatever reason, he just wanted to spend a session on his values. And it was really interesting. Again, part of the art of coaching is letting the client guide the process a little bit, going where they want to go and not pushing them to go in areas we're interested in. So we see a lot of integrity, kindness, freedom, fairness, authenticity. For me, it's variety, control of my time, family. What's the other one? Something about, I really like working with dynamic clients. And so there's a value there. Let's see, integrity, honesty, love of learning, family, faith. Good, all good. Growth, faith, service, beautiful. So you get these. The next one I want to talk about is edge. Edge for coaches is often the most challenging. Edge is basically your unique selling proposition. What sets you apart compared to other coaches? In the executive coaching world, one of the things people ask is, are there too many coaches? And what I'd say is there's a lot of coaches, but there aren't that many good ones, right? If you look at most coaches' websites, they're pretty generic. They're a lot about the coach. There's a lot of I statements. They're pretty narcissistic. And what I found is that the people who join us at the Center for Executive Coaching can do circles around those coaches, because the people who are attracted to us typically have years of substance, whether through education, leadership, scholarship. They're already, some are already coaches and consultants, authors, returned military, elite athletes, executives, up and coming talent in companies. They all have some track record, something that sets them apart right when they come into the organization. So that makes it a lot easier compared to so many other coaches out there who really don't have that, who just say, I'm a leadership coach. I, went to this school. That's not enough. That's just not enough in this market. So edge would be something like, unlike other coaches in this space, let's say someone who specializes in coaching healthcare leaders. I have 20 years of experience as an executive in healthcare delivery systems. I've walked in your shoes. I know what you've faced. Right? It doesn't have to be years of experience, but that's an example. It has to be something that matters to your clients, that truly sets you apart in their mind. I find it's actually easier to coach clients who aren't in coaching on their edge. They usually know what sets them apart or what sets their organization apart. But this is very powerful coaching. You might coach somebody who's, let's say, an up and coming leader in an organization, and they really undersell themselves. They don't know what sets them apart. They think they're the same as everybody else. And through coaching, we can help them recognize things they've done well, what their strengths are, achievements they can point to that nobody else can. Very powerful stuff. One of you is asking, can you be an executive coach if you haven't been an executive? Absolutely. We have in our program psychologists, entrepreneurs, speakers, elite athletes. You just have to have something of value so that you are seen as credible in the eyes of your clients. And by the way, by executive, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be coaching the CEO of Ford, right? My practice and where I find the most joy is in coaching decision makers and leaders in growing small to mid-sized companies, right? About $5 million up to $250 million. Although right now I'm working with a pretty cool company that's at $1 billion. And I've worked with nonprofits and loved it because I love the passion of the clients. I've worked with universities, worked with entrepreneurial companies, worked with insurance companies, healthcare companies. So that's edge. What do you think your edge would be? And again, here's what's interesting though. You have to be careful. Like here, you wouldn't say integrity, right? That's like an airline saying safety. We land safely. We kind of take it for granted that if you're a professional, you have integrity. You have to pick something that matters to the client and that will help you stand out. Okay, so ability to effectively communicate at all levels, that's great. If you can back that up, that's awesome. Expert in helping high potentials in new roles, terrific. Grit, okay, you'd have to prove that, but sure. Proven success in one's arena, that's excellent. X number of years in a particular industry. Award-winning business leader, beautiful. I like this group. I have to tell you, if you go to other programs, you're going to find a lot of people who can fog a mirror and are in those programs, but really don't have that substance behind them. That's the opportunity to succeed in executive coaching today. Okay, really beautiful, good, nice stuff that I'm seeing come across. What else? Working with senior leaders in fast-paced environments, good 20-year history of cross-functional accomplishments, 20-year global experience in turnaround and startups. That's great. 25 years experience in educational leaders. So there's wonderful people here, and I'm so happy to see that. Next, we move to initiatives and performance metrics. Sometimes one should come naturally before the other. It just depends on how clients think. But initiatives, what are your clients' top 3 initiatives? So I want you to shift over to what do you think your top 3 initiatives are that you can do immediately to achieve your vision, right? To really live the life and career you want as a coach. What would be your top 3 initiatives? This is not as easy as it looks for a lot of clients. I worked with a healthcare delivery system. I said, what are your top initiatives? No more than 3. The client took me to a conference room. And on the 4 walls of the conference room, he showed me 150 strategic initiatives. And he was proud of that. 150 strategic initiatives. I said, this is ridiculous. And we started talking about them. And it turns out that some were redundant. Some were doing the same thing, but had competing leaders on them who wouldn't talk to each other. Some were not strategic at all. And working together, believe it or not, we got the organization down to 5 strategic initiatives from 150. Didn't have to be, 3. All right, forget it. 5. I thought that was one of the greatest things I've done as a coach and consultant, to get them down to 5. Consolidating, eliminating, thinking more strategically. It was fantastic. So what about you? What might be your top 3 initiatives? Maybe it's write a book. Maybe it's start speaking at a particular place to get visible. Maybe it's come up with your compelling marketing message. Related to this, of course, is performance metrics. How will you define success? Right now, you can pick whatever time period you want. Maybe it's get your first client. Maybe it's fill your time so you're working 3 days a week directly with clients. Okay. I've worked with a lot of clients. I worked with somebody who was a middle manager running a branch office of a very large investment firm. And what was interesting, he was so frustrated because he said, look, every week corporate sends us new performance metrics. I can't stand it. It's like, I have to move my team and they're burning out and I'm burning out. There's always new performance metrics. And so we started coaching on, well, so how can you get more consistency? How can you influence corporate about that? How can you pick 3 that you're going to dominate on? And what he realized was truly his number 1 performance metric was to be number 1 in his region. Out of 24 other branches, he wanted to be number 1 in his region. And so then we looked at, so what are the 3 initiatives that will get you there? And he did it. Okay, so great. Yeah, I love Fiona's double my fees and describe my packages in a way that buyers buy. Beautiful. Again, when you're a member of our program, I'll personally even edit, if it's helpful, your marketing message. And we have a whole way of looking at how you're supposed to charge as a coach. It's not hourly, it's not daily, it's based on value so that you're charging in the highest echelons of coaches and getting what you deserve. All right, let's see. Another says, Shoko, offering women's leadership training programs in US and Japan respectively, beautifully, and launch my digital presence. Gorgeous, that's great. In fact, in our program, we have a business development intensive. We just did a bunch of, a whole series that's in your member area on online programs and online marketing, since that's so big right now. All right, so you get the idea. Next, I'll move with my client to key relationships, right? The best leadership coaching, I've been told by a mentor of mine, and it seems fairly true, people, time, and money, right? If you really hone in on the problems that leaders have, people, time, money. So far, we've looked at a lot of ways our leader can spend their time and be grounded and focused. We have to talk about key relationships. Almost all of my coaching engagements, and I imagine yours too, focus on who are the people most important to your success? What's the quality of that relationship? How can you better engage direct reports? How can you better collaborate with colleagues? How can you manage up more effectively? How can you improve your relationship with your boss, the chairman of the board, if appropriate, the board, investors? And so a big part of coaching, and every coaching session, might be developing a relationship plan, up, down, and across, for each key person that the client has. And that's where this leader's dashboard can be quite valuable for that. What about you? Type in, if you were going to type in a few key relationships now that can help your coaching practice. You don't have to give me names. You can give me types of people or titles, but also types of people you want to meet. For instance, for me, I wanted to work with a best-selling author to collaborate on some books. And I managed to meet the great late J. Conrad Levinson, who authored all of the guerrilla marketing books. And I got to write 3 books with him and do some work with him, and it was a wonderful experience. So for me, that happened by consciously and intentionally looking for relationships with a best-selling author out there. So what do we have? We have people that collaborate and practice coaching. Well, we can get you that in the Center for Executive Coaching. There's a whole tab in your member area where you can connect with other coaches and practice coaching for ICF hours and just to get better. We have executive directors of nonprofits, CEOs of small business, good, emerging leaders, my business partners, former colleagues, university leaders, healthcare leaders, peer coaches, coaching bodies to gain accreditation, right? We can help you with that. Website designer, book editor. Wow, so good. Big range of relationships. When I first started, here's the thing with me, I'm a super introvert, right? On any scale of sociability or introversion, extroversion, I am, I'd say, in the bottom 1.5% on wanting to do things like networking meetings, small talk. And so what I realized I had to do was outsource my networking to people who already had relationships and who knew that I was good and could help them. And so a big part of what helped me grow my practice was connecting with 5 to 10 already successful people who were brilliant at networking. Examples, an investment banker who brought me in to work with some of his portfolio companies. An assessments expert who would, he loved assessments. I wanted to do coaching, and so it was a perfect match. An HR consultant who did a lot of HR strategy work and brought me in to follow up with coaching when appropriate. Okay, so there's all sorts of relationships and alliances you can form that can be a big part of building a practice. And finally, development opportunities. This is really interested in working with clients. I have a client now, he's working on, he's starting up a whole biotech venture. And so, and he's not a scientist. And so for him, he's taking courses now in biotech at a local university. That's one of the things he's doing. He just wants to learn everything he can right now about biotech. He has a business that's a cash cow. It's generating tons of cash. And so the question is, how can he invest it? He wants to do it, to make the world a healthier place, invest in biotech. I've had clients, they pick simple things, listen more, stop interrupting, listen more to people. Others pick key skills to know, or new industries to learn, or new technologies, new talents to develop, to apply. What is it for you as a coach? Usually, for me, I had to learn how to sell without selling. I had to learn how to authentically have conversations with people to figure out if they wanted to hire me or not, in such a way that it wasn't cheesy, tacky selling. And that's something we show you how to do in the program. I had to learn how to market and have people come to me instead of feeling like I was chasing them. Those were 2 critical development opportunities for me. And as Maria says, ask versus tell. That's perfect. When I first started coaching, I was probably much more consultative than I am today by about 500%. I really have developed, I think, that ability over time. So good. We have networking, asking versus telling, networking again. By the way, there's lots of ways to network. What I found was I had to just find ways that were comfortable for me. Learning how to start conversations that lead to opportunities. Good. Networking, holistic views about leadership, storytelling for influence. Good. Marketing that fits you. Perfect. Okay, you get the idea. And so what you have essentially is a very powerful tool, right? Imagine we were working together in a coaching relationship. You have written all this down. We could take this out anytime anytime we had some extra time in the coaching, or maybe we could just do it as a matter of course every month. I could say, how are you doing on your initiatives, your performance metrics, your relationships? How are you doing in strengthening your edge in the development opportunities you mentioned? Where do you want some coaching now? Let's update this plan. It's a living, breathing document. So there's a ton you can do with this. All right. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. Again, my goal in sharing this with you, and you're free to use it as long as you, again, attribute it. I think there's something down here in the bottom that tells you how to attribute the document if you were to use it. I'm happy to have you use it, but more importantly, I'd love for you at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, to actually join the program if you're interested. And where you can do that is just going right here where it says get certified. Okay, in fact, let me make sure I'm sharing the document. You see that there? If you just click get certified, a good place to start is the online certification. You can scroll down, you can see what's there. And, you can pay in installments, you can pay up front, you can add the full ICF program if you want an ICF designation. We have a seminar you can add. There's basically those options. And I'm happy to talk you through all of it. So with that, I'm going to take this off record.